These are our people. These are our countrymen. If I were white and saw one of these men get and I was in the NRA, why wouldn't I stand up for them? A card-carrying legal owner that gets murdered in cold blood because he's black. That's why they don't give a
Dave Chappelle just dropped a truth bomb that hit way too close to home. He said it plain and simple. And honestly, he's right. Look around. Every time a black man becomes too sharp, too aware, too confident in his own power, the system suddenly flips the script.
Later, a group of adult white men burst into this family's home and snatched a 14-year-old boy out of bed in front of his family that was powerless to stop them, and he was never seen alive again. His name was Emmett Till.
They label him crazy, problematic, or dangerous, and the cycle starts all over again. It's the same old playbook.
If you could solve a black American's problems, this country would have no problems. He's so busy talking about pronouns and this, that, and the other, but this is a very basic wrong. They kidnapped us. They brought us here. They treated us like and all the time that they did that, they were afraid that we would do what you would do in the same situation.
Discredit the truth teller so people stop listening before he exposes too much. And now, when you see what's happening with Trump literally trying to erase pieces of history,
the worst thing to call somebody is crazy, is dismissive. I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy. They're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little sick.
Like his order to remove the scourged back photo from a national exhibit.
On the president's orders, a photograph of a beaten slave is being removed from all national parks, including Harper's Ferry National Historic Park.
Called the Scourged Back, and it's also known as Whipped Peter.
You realize Dave's message isn't just comedy anymore, it's prophecy. Because that photo isn't just another image. It's one of the most powerful, gut-wrenching reminders of what America used to be.
What about people who say you're only interested in the Middle East for oil?
What? Huh? Oil? Who said something about oil, bitch? You cooking? Oh.
And what it can easily become again if we stop paying attention. The timing of all this, too calculated to be coincidence. Dave's been warning us about this system for years. Remember, this man walked away from a $50 million deal at the peak of his career, not because he lost his mind, but because he found it. He refused to let Hollywood twist his message or own his image. The media called him insane, they dragged his name through the dirt, and they made him look like he was self-destructing. But the truth? He was protecting his peace. They didn't understand that sometimes walking away isn't madness, it's survival. He even said it himself, the machine doesn't like when a black man sees it for what it is. That's why Dave had to disappear to Africa for a while, just to breathe, just to stay alive. And now that time has proven him right, people are finally realizing he was never crazy. He was free. And look at what's happening today.
This image, the scourged back, was printed and distributed across the entire country, becoming one of the most powerful anti-slavery weapons of the Civil War. Called him Whipped Peter. It completely destroyed the narrative that the South was trying to push, that slavery was humane. And for thousands of Northerners who had never seen or experienced the pure brutality of slavery with their own eyes, this image made it all real.
From Trump's attempt to erase historical pain to cancel culture trying to silence outspoken voices, it's all part of the same cycle Dave has been talking about since Chappelle's show. It's not about comedy anymore, it's about truth. The system can't handle an honest black man who refuses to be controlled, so it turns him into a villain to keep everyone else scared of thinking freely. So yeah, Dave's words hit different now. He's not just speaking truth to power, he's reminding us that history always repeats itself, especially when people start pretending it never happened in the first place. You can't unsee that photo once you've seen it. It burns itself into your memory. The scourged back image forces America to stare at its real history, not the polished version they like to promote.
Watch the tapes. Watch that crowd that told Colin Kaepernick he can't kneel during a football game, try to beat a police officer to death with an American flag. Look at that shit. What was Edward Snowden talking about? Who is the terrorist now that they're looking for? It's you, not me, not my black Muslim ass. It's you. Who are they militarizing the police for? They didn't call the National Guard on my black ass. It's you. That's what white people did. They felt what black people have been feeling for 400 years. For 30 minutes, stormed the Capitol and rubbed their shit on the walls. They carried a fucking Confederate flag through the rotunda. The Confederate Army didn't even do that. Motherfuckers, you went very far.
But the raw, brutal truth, and that's exactly why they want to remove it. Because truth makes people uncomfortable. Because that image doesn't fit the story America wants to sell about progress and freedom. It reminds the world that the foundation of this country was built on something ugly, and that kind of truth doesn't blend well with flag-waving slogans or glossy museum displays. That's the same reason certain black voices keep getting silenced, censored, or rebranded as controversial. It's all part of the same pattern.
That's why I want to start a GoFundMe for Colin Kaepernick. I do, man. I'm fascinated with him. I want to make sure he never has to play football again. He can if he wants to. I just don't want him to have to. Because why the fuck not? I know he's rich and people would be like, I'm not giving a GoFundMe to a rich dude, but you should. You should. Because that motherfucker's life was going great. He's so light-skinned, he didn't even have to say he was black. And yet, he took a knee during that anthem for us. Thought about us when things were going good, when his belly was full, when he didn't think about his livelihood or any of that, and they took his livelihood away from him. I'm like, man, that shouldn't be the way it is. Every fucking person that takes a stand for somebody else always gets beat down, and we watch it. Over and over and over again, we watch it. But we should pay those motherfuckers for blowing the whistle.
The same system that's been operating for centuries. Trump didn't invent it. He's just the latest face wearing the mask. Every generation has its own version of rewriting the story. They start with denial, then revision, then replacement. First, they told us slavery wasn't that bad. Then they sanitized Dr. King into a soft, non-threatening image of peace, completely ignoring that the government had him under 24-hour surveillance.
I thought you was my black brother. Why you ask me questions like that? Fine, I'll answer your stupid-ass question. I feel like you guys keep trying to distract people when I'm focusing on other things, namely the moon. Yes, I said it, the moon. You win? You have a problem with that? You know what you should do? You should sanction me. Sanction me with your army. Oh, wait a minute. You don't have an army. I guess that means you need to shut the up. That's what I do if I didn't have no army. I would shut up. Shut the up. That's right.
And for his regime. The United States is ready, willing, and able. But hopefully, this will not be necessary. That's what the United Nations is all about. That's what the United Nations is for.
They demonized Malcolm X, calling him aggressive when all he ever demanded was self-respect and dignity. And when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, a peaceful, silent protest, they turned it into an act of war against the flag. It's always been about control, not patriotism.
Never left this property, have you, Mr. Bixby?
No, sir, not in many years.
What if I were to tell you that you are an African-American?
Sir, listen, I'm gonna make this clear. I'm in no way, shape, or form involved in any negative. You understand?
America doesn't like being reminded of its hypocrisy, especially when that reminder comes from a calm, intelligent black man who refuses to be controlled. When Kaepernick took that knee, they said he was disrespecting soldiers and the anthem. But Dave Chappelle saw straight through the illusion.
So I got ahead of schedule, and I bounced. And I didn't tell anybody where I was going. The whole time, they're trying to convince me I'm insane. They were trying to get me to take psychotic medication. Yeah. Like I'm sitting around, I was stressed out, but the people that were telling me I was insane, I believe that they knew what was going on. So, this was troublesome. Yeah. I said, I'm not taking this medicine, man, because I know these people be trying to control you or maybe discredit you. I was afraid,
But you were stressed out. That's why.
There's no question. But it's very stressful for someone to constantly walk behind you and say, you're insane.
He pointed out how those same people who cursed Kaepernick for kneeling were the exact same ones storming the U.S. Capitol, waving American flags while beating police officers and screaming about freedom. That's not patriotism. That's selective outrage.
You know, when we did Blue Streak, we were promoting it, and Martin had a stroke. He almost died. And then after that, I saw him, and I was like, oh my God, Martin, are you okay? And he said, I got the best sleep I ever got in my life. That's how tough he is. So let me ask you this. What is happening in Hollywood that a guy that tough will be on the street waving a gun, screaming, they are trying to kill me?
Yeah.
What's going on? Why is Dave Chappelle going to Africa? Why does Mariah Carey make a $100 million deal and take her clothes off on TRL? A weak person cannot get to sit here and talk to you. Ain't no weak people talking to you. So what is happening in Hollywood? Nobody knows.
But Dave didn't just hold white America accountable. He checked his own community too. He said too many black folks turned their backs on Kaepernick when he needed them most. Instead of standing beside him, they called him divisive or accused him of taking it too far. According to Dave, that right there is part of the sickness, the conditioning that makes us silence our own truth tellers before the system even has to lift a finger. It's like the machine has trained people to do its work for it.
I have a question for the audience, and this is a real question. I'm not joking around. Is it possible that a gay person can be? Do you really think so? Of course it's possible. Look at Mike Pence. No, I'm guessing, but I bet you he's gay. And he's not Pride Parade gay either. He's sad gay. Feel bad for him. He looks like one of them gays that prays about it. Jesus, please take these dirty feelings out of my heart. Please, Jesus, make these buttholes ugly to me. I don't want to keep on tasting these. To be honest with you, I've been trying to repair my relationship with the transgender community because I don't want them to think that I don't like them. And you know how I've been repairing it? I wrote a play. I did, because I know that gays love plays. It's a very sad play, but it's moving. It's about a black transgender woman whose pronoun is sadly. It's a tearjerker. At the end of the play, she dies of loneliness because white liberals don't know how to speak to her. Sad. All of us, do better next time. Do not forget your humanity, and please have empathy for displaced people, whether they're in the Palisades or Palestine. Thank you very much, and good night.
To destroy their own messengers before their voices can make real change. And that's exactly why Dave's voice matters so much. He forces everyone, black, white, rich, poor, to look in the mirror and face what's really there, even when it's uncomfortable. He doesn't soften the truth. He throws it straight at you. And what's wild is that his commentary today feels just as relevant as it did 2 decades ago when Chappelle's show was running.
I like working for Netflix because when all those bad things happened to me, that company didn't even exist. And when I found out they were streaming Chappelle's show, I was furious. How could they not know? So you know what I did? I called them and I told them that this makes me feel bad. And do you want to know what they did? They agreed that they would take it off their platform just so I could feel better. That's why I fuck with Netflix, because they paid me my money, they do what they say they're gonna do, and they went above and beyond what you could expect from a businessman. They did something just because they thought that I might think that they were wrong. And I do.
Back then, it was George Bush and the war on terror. Now it's Trump, erasing black history and weaponizing patriotism. Different decade, same agenda. Silence the thinkers, demonize the truth tellers, and rewrite the story before the next generation can see what really happened. That's why people say Dave Chappelle isn't just a comedian. He's a historian with a microphone. His jokes sting because they come wrapped in facts America keeps trying to bury. Now it's Trump, but the playbook hasn't changed one bit. It's the same script, just a new actor playing the role. Back then, people were laughing their heads off watching Chappelle's show.
I'm Team Turf. I agree, man. Gender is a fact. You have to look at it from a woman's perspective. Look at it like this. Caitlyn Jenner, whom I've met, wonderful person. Caitlyn Jenner was voted Woman of the Year. Her first year as a woman. Ain't that something? Beat every bitch in Detroit. She's better than all of you. Never even had a period. Ain't that something? Oh, I'd be mad as shit if I was a woman. I'd be mad if I was me. If I was in a BET Awards sitting there and they're like, and the winner for Nigger of the Year, Eminem, my man.
Thinking it was all jokes and punchlines. But Hollywood, the suits in charge, saw something entirely different. They saw danger, because Dave's comedy wasn't just entertainment. It was truth-telling in disguise. Every sketch, every punchline had a message that cut deep into the system. Those iconic bits like Black Bush and Clayton Bigsby weren't just funny, they were brilliant satire that ripped through America's mask.
Dave Chappelle was decapitated in front of us. They called him Pilot Boy because he had 19 pilots in Hollywood and everybody passed on him and said his show wasn't worth it. Then when he made $500 million, they said even though his contract said he should get half of it, they said he made too much for the contract to be valid, so we'll offer you 10% of what you made. You mean he made $500 million and they offered him 50? Yes. And he said, what do you think my fans are gonna say when they find out you offered me 10% of what I made you? And they said, your fans will believe that you're a crazy crackhead by the time you get home. He got on a flight in LA, and by the time he got to Ohio, it was so.
Black Bush flipped the script on power and foreign policy, while Clayton Bigsby held up a mirror to the country's obsession with race and ignorance. Dave made people laugh while forcing them to see. And that's what made his show so powerful. Because when comedy exposes truth, it's no longer just TV. It becomes rebellion. And that's the kind of energy that makes Hollywood execs nervous. They can handle jokes, as long as those jokes don't shake the table. But Dave, he flipped the whole table over. He was too sharp, too free thinking, and too unpredictable to control. So when Hollywood dangled that $50 million contract in front of him, they thought he'd fold like everyone else. But Dave shocked the world. He walked away. Most people would have jumped at that kind of money. But for Dave, it wasn't about the cash. It was about principle, because with that money came strings, expectations, and quiet rules about what he could or couldn't say. And the moment he said no, the real pressure started. They called him unstable. They tried to convince the world he had lost his mind. They even tried to push medication on him, hoping to silence him under the label of mental health. But Dave didn't break. He knew exactly what was happening. The same cycle that's been used for decades to destroy powerful black men who refused to play the part. So walking away wasn't about rejecting fame or fortune. It was about reclaiming freedom. And when he packed up and fled to Africa without telling a soul, not even his family, that move spoke volumes. That wasn't paranoia. That was survival instinct. He knew too many stories of what happens to black men in entertainment when they stop being manageable. Remember when Martin Lawrence ran through the streets yelling, "They're trying to kill me"? The media laughed and dismissed him as unstable. But Dave saw that and understood the truth behind the meltdown. He knew Martin wasn't crazy. He was just pushed to the edge. The industry has a way of cornering you until you break, and Dave wasn't about to give them that satisfaction. So when he finally returned from Africa, he wasn't the same man. He wasn't coming back to chase fame. He came back to teach. And he did it the way only Dave Chappelle could, through comedy that cuts deep. Whether he's calling out cancel culture, exposing the hypocrisy of the media, or highlighting how America still treats its citizens differently based on the color of their skin, Dave has turned stand-up into a weapon of truth. And with his Netflix specials, for the first time, Dave didn't have to answer to anybody. No networks, no advertisers, no executives hovering over his words. It was his voice, his vision, unfiltered and unstoppable. And that freedom, that's exactly what they tried to take from him all those years ago, and failed. When Dave Chappelle linked up with Netflix, he finally got what every artist dreams of: complete creative control. No censors, no corporate leash, no Hollywood filter twisting his message. For the first time in his career, Dave could speak his truth, raw and unedited, about race, politics, power, and culture. But that kind of freedom, it makes people nervous, because when a man like Dave starts talking without restraint, the world starts listening, and not everyone likes what they hear. The moment his new specials dropped, the backlash hit hard. The media pounced, twisting headlines and turning his words into controversy. They said he crossed a line, that he went too far. But if you actually listen to what he said, you realize the outrage wasn't really about a few edgy jokes or his commentary on gender and identity. It was about control. Dave refused to let anyone dictate what he could think, say, or feel. That's what scared them the most, because the system doesn't know what to do with a man who won't apologize for being free. Cat Williams even said it straight. The industry tried everything to bury Dave. They attacked his image, twisted his narrative, and tried to erase his influence. But Dave didn't back down. He doubled down. Instead of retreating, he kept shining that spotlight on hypocrisy, corruption, and the quiet ways society punishes outspoken black men who dared to think independently. Every time they tried to cancel him, he came back sharper, wiser, and louder. And now look, both Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams stand tall as living proof that truth can't be silenced forever. They rose above the politics, the manipulation, the smear campaigns, and built their own platforms instead of begging for a seat at someone else's table. The real lesson here, the truth is dangerous. It's the first thing the powerful try to bury and the last thing they want you to believe, because the moment you see through the illusion, they can't control you anymore. And that's what Dave represents. Not rebellion for fame, but rebellion for freedom. So what do you think? Is Dave still the same man who left Hollywood for Africa all those years ago, wiser, freer, and more fearless than ever? Or does exposing the gatekeepers always come with a price too high to pay? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to check out the next story, because this conversation is far from over.